Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello, gamers. Welcome to Punching Up. This is your bi-weekly Nintendo podcast from Last Stand Media. I'm your host, Dustin. Here with me, Gene Park. What's up, dude?
Good morning or good afternoon. We're recording a little later today, but yeah, good to see you, man.
What's up? How are you today?
Just coming back from a long weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Brad and I did a very intimate summon sign, just me and him together. So we had a nice
gooning duo.
Yeah. I think Colin was saying that he didn't know what gooning was, right?
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, because his point, he was saying that like in our time, a goon was like a henchman of a bad guy or something, the goons or whatever. Yeah.
And then I think you guys were talking about in Sacred, right? About the word gooning and then defining it. I wasn't quite satisfied with with any of your definitions because I think gooning is the state of mind where like the masturbation is like so focused, like that's like the only thing
consuming.
Like you're all consuming.
Right.
There's no thoughts, nothing else. There's no past, present, or future. It's just focusing on making sure that you get that orgasm. Right. Like that's gooning. That's like intense gooning,
Yeah.
Like you can't even, like it's not even about the boys. Like the goon squad is because you don't even know the boys are there.
Right. It's not like you need the state of mind. You don't need moral support.
Yeah. Everyone's playing single player together.
Oh yeah. That makes sense. All right.
Yeah. Anyways, good morning.
Good morning. Good after. The gooning. We already forgot. It is afternoon. Yeah, we are recording this slightly later today. On that note, Mama Micah, hello, welcome to Punching Up, our Nintendo podcast. How are you today?
Hello, I'm doing very well. So actually, yesterday I saw a Facebook ad for a T-shirt that said "Just here for the hot dogs," and I bought it. Like Facebook ads, they win this round. I had to buy it. Like. You're telling me there's a T-shirt with a little hot dog on it that says "Just here for the hot dogs," and I'm supposed to ignore that? I'm supposed to have the willpower to not buy that shirt. I bought the shirt. It's from the Life is Good brand, which I like their stuff. They donate money to charity. They were the commencement speakers at my high school graduation. So I have a soft spot for Life is Good brand, but they got me with this hot dog shirt and I can't wait to wear it.
See, I was realizing something because we started talking about this on some show about, I think that I am a hot dog elitist in some way, that sometimes you get a hot dog that's like, I don't know, a mix of chicken and beef, or there's one type of hot dog that you take a bite and I'm disappointed, if I'm being honest. I've become a purist for the all beef dog through and through, but it would be interesting to do a tasting. Like, you get one of each kind, really try to compare them, get the same brand so there's some level of consistency. Now, Micah, you mentioned you like the chicken and beef, right?
I do. My favorite hot dogs are like the meat blend hot dogs. I'm actually, the shirt I'm wearing today that you can't see is from my favorite hot dog stand back home. My dad got this for me for Christmas. The Sugarloaf Frosty in Sunderland, Massachusetts. And they have the best hot dogs I've ever had. They're natural casing, foot-long Frankfurters. They're the like chicken, pork, whatever mixture, but they are like the best hot dogs I've ever had. And I know the brand that they use, and I want to try and like order them online actually, because I can't get them here, but I do know what brand they use. I called one time and asked. So I'm a big hot dog fan myself, Dustin. I agree that some brands are subpar. I like an all beef hot dog. but it's not the flavor I expect from a hot dog. That's just what I grew up with.
Right.
Was my mom always bought the Oscar Mayer wieners, not the all beef Franks, right?
Sure.
So it's more so for me, like what I expect out of a hot dog is just different, but beef hot dogs are very good. Absolutely.
I gotta talk shit. Nathan's hot dogs, good, overrated.
Mm-hmm.
Completely overrated. In fact, you're getting a smaller wiener out of Nathan. You're getting a thinner, narrow wiener, and this is a situation that size matters, in my opinion.
See, I'm gonna counter that I always buy the Oscar Mayer bun length Franks at home because I would rather have the skinny long hot dog in that bun than have like the ballpark jumbo Frank, which is shorter than the bun. But it's a trade-off. I like the ballpark jumbo Franks, but they're shorter than the bun. And then you get those 2 extra bites of bread with no hot dog in it. So I always go for the bun length Franks if I'm shopping for myself.
I don't have this problem with the ballparks because I think you and I have talked about this, but I feel like it's an important part of my life personally is the spiral cut hot dog.
Oh yeah, I've never done that.
Micah, next hot dog night. Just spiral cut one. You don't even have to necessarily spiral cut it. You just got to put little cuts in it to get some of the inner meat exposed, you know? It'll change your life.
I mean, that's what round dog is all about, though. Those round hot dog patties, it's all middle, right? You only have like a little bit of skin around the edge, and it's all middle, and it gets all nice and crispy. I mean, those round dogs are really good.
Yeah, I'd like to try that at some point, but
well, for only $50, you can order your own off of PBC.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Aldi version. We'll see if they ever get to that. But as I mentioned, this is Punching Up. This is a Nintendo podcast we do here every other week on Last Stand Media. And if you didn't know, Last Stand Media has a Patreon. We highly encourage everyone to check it out. Patreon.com/LastStandMedia. You can get early access to this show, Sacred Symbols, Knockback, Summon Sign, Defining Duke, all that stuff. Early access. And another very important perk that you get at either $5 or even as little as $2 is you can write into this very show, be a part of the conversation. And we have someone coming with some fighting words. And Gene, I saw you in the comments, and I want to let you know this is already a 2v1 on this guy. I don't know where Micah stands, but let's bring in.
I'm with you guys.
Okay,
yeah, no,
3v1. So, Monsta Pontes 93 Ricky Pontes. Is this Pontes? 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 Okay,
I think so.
He says, Gene. Motherfucker Park, bro, this is for you. I love and respect you so much, man. But, and then here comes the but, which means everything he said before is bullshit. But in the last episode of Punching Up, you got me, and you got me good with the biggest Yakuza spoiler. With the biggest Yakuza spoiler with Kiryu and what happens to him. I just started my Yakuza series playthrough earlier this year, and now going to be working on Yakuza 3 soon. I must say, I'm still going to play the Yakuza series, even after what you did to me, but I never thought I'd be spoiled on or in the area of having my guard up on a Nintendo podcast that Yakuza would even be brought up in the spoiler category. What do you say for yourself? Is it my fault for listening? Gene, take it away.
It was in the trailers. I don't know what else to say, you know? What I talked about was in the story trailer. They made a whole big deal about it. I don't know, man. Like some of the audience is really, really sensitive with spoilers. Like to be quite honest with you, some of you guys are really, really sensitive. Where it's like, oh my god, I can't believe you told me something that happens 20 years later. You know, in the story, it's like you're not even there at the story. You're not even at the point where you should even worry about spoilers. Anyways, you know, you're literally just getting to know these characters. You know, right. Secondly, spoilers are not that big of a deal, guys. Like, you can still enjoy the story even if you know what's happening. I guess maybe some people's brains work differently, and that like you just can't enjoy something if you know what's happening. I guess like that's not my brain, right? Sometimes when I see a spoiler, I know Dagan. I wish Dagan was here because he would probably back me up on this. Sometimes when I know a spoiler, it actually incentivizes me and excites me to get more into the story because I know what's about to happen, and now I'm wondering how the story might handle that. or how the character might handle that, or how we even get to that point in the first place. It's all about the journey, not about the spoiler information. So I mean that's my thing. It's like, yeah, you're playing 20 games into this. I'm talking about something 20 games into the series. They talked about it on the trailers. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's just the nature of starting a series late.
So okay, I'll half agree with you here
Mhm.
because if I hear a spoiler, some people are like, oh, now I can't play it. There's no point.
Yeah.
I'm not that
Yeah.
level, but for example, like watching One Piece right now, not knowing some of the stuff that happens, the reveal, the
Mhm.
high you get from it, 10
Mhm.
out of 10. I'd be upset if some of this stuff was spoiled for me. So I get that.
Yeah, but it's not like Kiryu is like trying to get cancer since Yakuza 1 or something. And it's like, oh my God, he finally got cancer. I can't believe you spoiled that
His
for
goal.
me. Like, I'm
Each
not
thing,
spoiling
he's like-
anything that you wouldn't have known or something. Like, yeah, he's like Stan's dad in South
Yeah.
Park trying to get himself cancer so he can get free weed or whatever. I love that episode.
But here's the thing, Gene. Here's the thing. If Ricky wants to be mad at anyone here, he needs to be mad at Sega because they put it in the trailer. It's fair game, period.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's fair. And here's the thing. I agree with you too here that it's fair game and the series has been around a long time. They put it in the trailer. You just got to deal with that. So it's a video game podcast. We're going to mention things that happen in trailers.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So
yeah. It was a marketing beat. They're like, this in this episode, Kiryu has cancer. But buy Infinite Wealth in January. That's exactly what the story was.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know what else to tell you.
Micah, do you have any input on this here? Do you want to defend Gene? Do you want to tear him down? Something in between.
No, I'm with Gene on if it's in the trailer, it's fair game. I understand that not some people don't like watching long game trailers. I myself avoid like game trailers because I think they're boring most of the time. I'm like, you're just showing way too much. But I don't consider anything in those trailers to be a spoiler. Those are things that the developers either wanted you to know, expected you to know ahead of time. It's that's not a spoiler. It's in the advertisement for the game. Also, all right, and I brought this up on Discord, and this is meant with 100% respect. 57% of Japanese males will develop cancer in their lifetime. Statistically, we could have expected this, especially from someone like Kiryu. We've watched him smoke and drink and carry on, all right, for the better half of 2 decades. It's like, this is honestly just statistically not on his side. You could have just expected it. But no, if it's in the trailers, it's not a spoiler. Like it just really isn't. And
I would not
the
have mentioned
response
it.
from some people was extreme.
Yeah, I would not have mentioned it. I would never mention it if it wasn't in the trailers. I'd be like, okay, well, like let's see what happened to Kiryu, But it was in the trailer. I remember Sega says this is the first. This can be your first Yakuza game, which is a lie. It's bullshit. But I mean that's part of the marketing, So yeah, I'm sorry, but it was in the trailers. I don't know what else to say.
I also, when it comes to spoilers, all right, like I'm someone who is in the middle, like, oh yeah, sometimes you see a spoiler and you're like, I wish I hadn't seen that, but I could still enjoy the story. And as an example, I'm reading The Stand right now. It's like a 1,200 page book. My dog ate the cover off the book. I left her alone for 30 minutes. She ate the back cover as well. So when I picked up the book, I accidentally saw the last page of the book. And of course my eyes read it. Of course my eyes scanned it. I couldn't help myself. And now I'm just like, I think I know what's going to happen at the end of this 1,200 page book. I'm like, I got to finish it. I have to finish this book. I'm halfway through, but it hurt me, like in its confusion, it hurt itself. That's me right now. But I'm going to finish the book because like Gene said, it's about the journey. Maybe I do know how the book ends now, but I don't know how they did it.
Exactly.
I don't know what they did. Yeah. I'm a little upset with my dog, but that's she didn't know what she was doing. She doesn't know what spoilers are.
Yeah. Like I get for One Piece, like especially if you've been invested that long, I would be pissed for sure, And then I'm still mad about the fact that God of War 2018 was spoiled for me too. certain gameplay features. See, I'm not even going to mention it because they didn't mention it in trailers. And even though it's a 2018 game, I know how fucking sensitive you guys are about spoilers. So I'm not even going to talk about it. So,
Yeah. Dude, well, yeah, I probably the most notorious thing of this for us in the Last Stand crew was when Last of Us Part 2, then that guy was having a mental breakdown on our
That's
Patreon.
Right, yeah. That sucks for you guys,
Yeah.
And for the whole community,
Yeah. Okay, well, Ricky, we're issuing a firm stand down on this. And I would say write in next week, but don't. Because I think we've settled this matter completely. Guys, let's get into our main topic this week. And so this is going to kind of be part of like an early what we've been playing section, but I want to talk to you guys about Paper Mario, The 1,000-Year Door, which is out now, just came out last Thursday. For us, it's finally here, a game that we've been excited to play. And I know a lot of our audience have been checking out as well. This is a game that is deeply nostalgic for many people. And honestly, it's one of those games that people have a really strong attachment to when they talk about. They talk about Nintendo games in the past they've loved. People always talked so highly of Paper Mario, The 1,000-Year Door. And Nintendo heard that, and they made a remake for us on the Switch. And so let's just go around first and see what everybody's thinking about it. And Micah, I know you've been playing it and you're new to it as well. I'm kind of like half new to it. I'll get into that in a bit. But Micah, what are you thinking about Paper Mario so far?
Oh, yeah. Like the broad picture, it is a delight to play. Much like Super Mario RPG, it is so funny. Like I have moments, I am genuinely surprised how funny it is. And just like these moments that I'm actually laughing at, like this is a game that feels very approachable and still like it has an edge to it of like, learning to master some of the timing for your moves during battle, for example. Like this is a game that's really approachable, but still has some skill to it and still has things that you can like master and get better at. I am really enjoying it so far. The music, the visuals, the papercraft, like aesthetic, I am just in love with. I mean, I like anything arts and crafts in real life. And that's why I like the Yoshi, Crafted World, Woolly World type games, like everything like this that they do that's like paper crafty, I just adore. So yeah, my like big picture feeling about this game, I am loving it so far.
Gene, I didn't get to talk to you yet if you've hopped in at all. I know you've been holding off on certain reviews, but have you had a chance to check it out yet?
I did. I got my hands on it for a little bit. Talk about it a little bit on Summon Sign, so I don't want to repeat too much, but I'm not that far in, but my history with Paper Mario was that I played it at my ex-girlfriend's house in college back in 2004, I guess. Wow, actually, no. Did I play it? I don't know. Anyways, I played it 20 years ago, and it was a delight. And we can talk about the frame rate, but it's great to have it back. A lot of nostalgia. I forgot all about it, so that's just like it's almost like a new experience. Just going back to Rogueport,
Yeah, for me, I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but I played the original Paper Mario on Nintendo 64 during its time. Absolutely loved it, and then never played 1,000-Year Door because I didn't have a GameCube growing up. But just last year at Too Many Games, I bought 1,000-Year Door for GameCube for like $90. Started playing it, got into where you get the first star or whatever it is, the stuff you collect. And then they announced the remake. And so I just immediately put it down because I thought, I'm sure the original, there's probably, there people are talking about differences, frame rates. We'll get into that. But I thought I'm not going to want to play this game twice back to like pretty close to it. So I'm just I've gotten a taste of the original. I'm going to wait. And actually just the last time I started playing or stopped playing was I've caught up to where I was when I started originally, which really wasn't that far. Nice. But overall, visually, I think this game looks amazing. It has like a lot of cool like floor reflections. I think is probably one of the standout visual features is that there's a lot of reflections. The lighting's really good. The characters look really awesome. They're obviously like 2D flat, but they also have some depth to them as well.
The game looks really sharp.
Yeah, I actually thought in some points it looks a little jaggy. It would benefit from a higher resolution.
Yes.
But
it's super sharp. Like there's no, Nintendo games don't really like alias or anti-aliasing.
Right.
They often don't have that. So yeah, it's a little too sharp.
Yeah, a little too sharp at points. Let's get into this question here, since we've been dancing around it, from RK128, who says, "Blessed day, paper brickers. With the release of Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, the discussion surrounding its frame rate comes up again. And to my relief, the 30 FPS cap did not bother me from playing this remake. The input response from the attack timing is very responsive. Are you all happy with the decision Nintendo made here? Or do you think they should have offered a 60 FPS mode at launch?" So yeah, this has been an ongoing conversation. We talked about it here on the show, that the original version of the game is 60 FPS, and this version is 30 FPS. And I think I'll say that I want all games to be in 60 FPS, whether or not it matters for the gameplay, just because I find 60 FPS to be more visually pleasing overall. And even if moving around, it doesn't matter for the gameplay, I still like the feeling of 60 FPS. But as RK128 points out, the game still feels extremely responsive, is very beautiful. So is it disappointing? I guess, but does it ultimately matter? Not really, to me. Micah, where are you sitting with this? Because I know you're not as much of a frame rate elitist as some of the rest of us here at Last Stand.
Yeah, I'm playing this game. I have so far only played it in handheld mode, so I haven't seen it up on the big screen. But there's nothing wrong with it to my eyes, basically. I'm playing the game. The animations look really smooth. There's this one animation where Mario gets dropped off on a boat, and the boat picks up, flips around. It just looks fantastic. I just think it looks really smooth and great regardless. During the battles as well, when we talk about those timing, moments where you need to guard or to do extra damage, responsive is the perfect word for it, because I usually struggle to get the hang of those things quickly. Sea of Stars, for example, it took me a good amount of time to figure out the damage boost and the extra guard for some of the moves that came at you, right? They were just they weren't telegraphed maybe so strongly as they were in this game, and it took me longer to get the hang of it. In this game, it's not only do the enemies telegraph pretty well what they're about to do, but it also is just it feels responsive. I haven't had a moment where I'm I pressed the button to guard at the right time and it didn't do it. I haven't felt like that at all. It really feels like what my eyes see is accurate to how the game's actually playing, versus feeling like there's any sort of lag or anything like that. So I'm perfectly content with it. I think it just looks really good. But yeah, I'd be curious to know from other people whose eyes can see the 60 frames, what they think.
Yeah. Gene, how do you feel about this? Do you care?
Yeah, I as the writing says, the gameplay wise, it doesn't really matter, because Nintendo's has been really good about making sure that their responsiveness is perfect on 30 FPS. You play Zelda, even Tears of the Kingdom, and that just controls perfectly, even if it's just a janky 30 FPS or less, right? So they got that part down. I would say, I am going to say that, and I mentioned a sun sign, but I am surprisingly disappointed in the lack of 60 FPS, even though I usually don't care about that stuff, and I usually play games less than 60 FPS. I'm totally fine with that. For this one, though, I feel like that the 60 FPS actually added something to the visual performance of the game, just the tone of it. The slapstick comedy nature of the game just kind of popped a lot as 60 FPS on GameCube. It just made me feel like I was playing some kind of interactive TV show or cartoon or puppet show or something. And then so it felt like a puppet show within my TV, versus now I feel like I'm watching a puppet show. Very cinematic at 30 FPS. I get it, and it looks gorgeous and beautiful and so colorful, and it looks amazing on the white screen too. So that's why it feels like I'm getting a show, but I feel like it feels like I'm getting a TV show versus like a puppet show, you know. So that's really my only thing. So looking forward to a Switch port upgrade, Pro upgrade or whatever, Switch 2 upgrade, whenever that happens.
Yeah. I playing it this beginning part again, I forgot about how much like the combat is very basic overall. You have Mario and you have whichever side character you have equipped. Mario can jump or use his hammer, and then there's like different variation on those abilities, items, of course. And then the side character, depending on what they do, they may jump. They may, if the Koopa character that I can't remember his name, he does like a shell type attack. But what I think is really cool, Gene, you mentioned this like puppet show thing that it doesn't make any sense within the game, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. Is that like when you go into a battle, it suddenly becomes this stage show. And I'm really curious as I get further into the game because they kind of early on, there's things where it's like, oh, watch out. Someone in the crowd is going to throw something at you and you got to send someone to go like rough him up, take his jacket away, that type of thing. So there's that. But later on, without spoiling anything, there's different bosses that interact with the crowd in really interesting ways as well. That's really fun. And I think that's maybe the part about the game that I'm enjoying the most so far is just the combat, as basic as it is in a lot of ways, still is like very unique, very Nintendo-esque, I guess. But yeah, I'm having a great time with it so far. Let's go ahead and bring in Derek Mozzarella here, who says, "Hey, Brickfisters, I've been playing Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, and for the first time, I'm really loving the combat in a turn-based RPG. Something about its simplicity and timed button press mechanics I find really satisfying. Are there any other RPGs with a similar combat system to this that you would recommend? Cheers, and have a great week." Well, as Micah mentioned, Super Mario RPG was kind of the predecessor to this game in a lot of ways. And actually, Paper Mario is called Paper Mario RPG in Japan. So it's like almost like a direct lineage to that. So you might want to go back and check that out. Micah also mentioned Sea of Stars is a good one. But I'll throw this to Gene. Is there any other games you feel like have a similar combat to Paper Mario, maybe with like timed mechanics?
Sea of Stars. Well, yeah, you mentioned Sea of Stars, right? Mario RPG, Yakuza, Like a Dragon.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Interesting.
The blocking mechanic, and also sometimes you gotta mash the buttons too. So there are button inputs for Yakuza Like a Dragon. So play that.
Okay.
So surprisingly, like Mario RPG,
Micah, is there anything that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, besides those ones, I agree with Gene about Like a Dragon because I was nervous isn't the right word. I love turn-based games, but the Yakuza games are usually so like fast-paced and like dynamic that I was like, how are you going to turn this into a turn-based experience without it feeling slowed down? And they do a very similar thing with guarding at the right time or doing extra damage if you hit the button inputs at the right time. So it's a different experience than the game like this because it does still feel a little more like fluid versus like how like slowed down, the Mario RPGs are, but it really is like, this is a super engaging way to do turn-based combat. It's a fantastic experience that I need to get back to and finish. But yeah, that and Sea of Stars would be a little more comparable to like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. They have a couple extra mechanics. I wouldn't say that it's not simple still. It's still like really easy to wrap your head around, but they have a couple extra mechanics in there for doing like combos with your party members and stuff like that. But those would be two I would definitely say to check out if you liked this game a lot.
The other thing that came to mind for me, and maybe you don't want to do this back to back with Paper Mario, but the Mario and Luigi games, the original one for Game Boy Advance, Superstar Saga, I believe that's available on Nintendo Switch Online via the Game Boy Advance section, but also a very friendly, easy RPG. I think there's time-based mechanics as well. It's been so long since I played that game. I probably played that game in 2003 or 4 around the time when it came out. I remember really liking it. That's actually that whole series, because there's a couple of them. They did like there's a remake of that, and then there's like Bowser's Inside Story and stuff like that. But also in the same lineage of Mario RPGs, definitely worth checking out with similar humor and silliness. Which, speaking of the humor and silliness, I just got to the first little section where you play as Bowser, and I love Bowser in Paper Mario games. He's like the biggest goof, and he just looks kind of stupid, but in a good way. So I'm very happy that you get to. I mean, that's pretty early on, so easy with
Mario RPG. Mario RPG was the start of the goofy Bowser.
Yeah. So yeah, we're having a great time. We'll be I'm still pretty early. I think we're all pretty early, so we'll be talking about it in future weeks and probably on Summon Sign as well, so we can stay up to date with that. Any other final thoughts? Anything we didn't touch on you guys want to say about Paper Mario?
I feel bad because I haven't been finishing Nintendo games lately. I haven't finished Mario Wonder. Haven't finished Princess Peach. Haven't finished Mario RPG. And I don't know if I'm gonna get to finishing Paper Mario. I definitely want to finish Mario Wonder first before anything else, because I was already like more than halfway done, and it sucks because I beat every Mario game. So I don't need to beat a Mario game like right away. So that's where I was. I was like I beat Mario 3D World like years later too. So it's fine. I might get to it, but
the only thing I didn't do in Mario Wonder was the very last challenge, like the last challenge after the end of the game. It is it's insane. It's so stupidly hard.
I watched a playthrough of it. I was like, I'm not sure I can get to that skill level. Maybe, I don't know. I still can't beat the Mario Odyssey Moon level too,
Oh,
so.
Yeah. I never beat Mario RPG either. I think, Micah, you're the only one that actually fully beat it. And it wasn't that I wasn't enjoying it. I think just something came up and then I didn't get back to it. So I'd like to get back to that at some point.
Yeah, I was already pretty deep into that too. So
yeah,
but Micah, you beat it though, right?
I did, and I can understand. How do I word this? It's a very fun little game, right? But in terms of the story, the only way I can say it is that the stakes are kind of low, it feels. And it's like, it's not as motivating to finish as something like Xenoblade Chronicles, where it's like, oh my God, like I've watched my friends perish. I need to avenge them. And it's like, it's such a cozy and fun little game
that's
that
a spoiler, Micah. People die in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. You can't say stuff like that.
I know unnamed people are harmed. I'm sorry. But it really feels, it's like, that's the best way I can explain it, is that these Mario RPGs are cozy and fun. I definitely plan on finishing this one as well, but it also feels like I'm taking a break from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to play this because it's a pretty short experience. But also it's like there's part of me that's like, man, but Xenoblade Chronicles 2, like I was doing something. I was doing something really important. And this feels like I'm going and playing like Candyland, the board game. So there's a sense I can totally agree with of like, there's something that doesn't motivate me quite as much to finish these games, and maybe it's just because the stories are safe and cozy and I don't feel like I left the characters to their demise if I don't finish the game, because I totally have that feeling. Part of why I like force myself to finish games even if I don't like them very much is because I feel bad that I have left the characters to their doom and I didn't save them in the end, right? So that's my own problem, but that's kind of where I feel about these games of like, well, it doesn't feel quite so perilous, does it?
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even think about that, but when I mentioned all the Nintendo games that I haven't finished, they're all Mario games. They're all Peach, Mario RPG, Paper Mario, and Mario Wonder. And the thing about Mario games is that like, yeah, there isn't an urgency. Like Mario isn't waiting for me to do anything. He's just waiting for me there to play, So yeah, there's just no real rush, Like if there's a new Zelda out, I'll play that post haste right away, I gotta finish that, But with Mario, I can take a break. A Metroid game, definitely, I'll have to finish that right away too. So yeah, I guess it's just the nature of Mario games where I'm just like, yeah, I don't need to really finish this right now. It's great, but it's fine.
Yeah, Mario's a good guy. He doesn't demand too much of you. You can come and go as you please. He's a nice guy. But so yeah, we'll get back to this. And the other thing I just want to say real quick, because I know there was one write-in about this, and there was someone we talked about it in the Last Stand Discord. I know that there is a light controversy about some of the localization, particularly about one character in this game. We can get into that in future weeks, but I don't know who this character is. I don't know the context of the original, so I don't feel right speaking about it until I get to that point in the game. So I just want to acknowledge that it's not like we're hiding from something, since usually Last Stand we're the only people to talk about those types of things, but it wouldn't be responsible for at least me in particular to talk about it until I get the context of it. So we can return to that when the time is. If you're wondering what that's about, just I'm sure you can find it online. I know it's some character that they changed, their pronouns and stuff like that, but I don't know a lot about it. We'll get into it.
Yeah, I don't know if they changed it or whether it's more accurate or whatnot. So, I don't pay attention to that stuff because who cares? So, but I get it. Yeah, I'm wondering what the change was, if there was any. But
right. So yeah, we'll get into that when the time comes. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll cap off our Mario discussion. As I said, we'll come back to that as we continue to play more. But for the time being, let's get into the news. And we do have one pretty big item this week to talk about. And that is, right now in the games industry, on Sacred, on Defining Duke, we are constantly talking about mergers and acquisitions. For the most part, Nintendo has kind of stayed out of it. In fact, I think that the president of Nintendo at one point in the last few months basically said they're not really interested in doing that. But Nintendo has acquired a company just recently, and I think it makes a lot of sense. That company is Shiver Entertainment, and they acquired them from Embracer Group. So I'll go ahead and read their statement here, and then we can get into it along with some questions. This comes from the Nintendo website, the little press statement they put out, and they said, Shiver is a video game development company that develops software for multiple platforms, including Nintendo Switch. Since its establishment in 2012, Shiver has partnered with publishers and developers through commissions for large-scale title developments, and recently has worked on porting and developing software titles such as Hogwarts Legacy and Mortal Kombat 1. Nintendo will acquire 100% of the outstanding shares of Shiver and make it a wholly owned subsidiary. By welcoming Shiver's experience and accomplished development team, Nintendo aims to secure high-level resources for porting and developing software titles. Going forward, even after it becomes part of the Nintendo Group, Shiver's focus will remain the same, continuing commissions that port and develop software for multiple platforms, including Nintendo Switch. The acquisition will be completed pending satisfaction of all relevant customary closing conditions. That's really all they had to say. And so, yeah, as far as Shiver, I was looking into them. They were part of Embracer Group. Just recently, they worked on Hogwarts Legacy port for Switch and Mortal Kombat 1. And I believe they also did some multi-platform ports of Scribblenauts as well in the past. So definitely have a lot of experience working on Switch and multi-platform stuff. And I think the real thing here is that the porting ability, just because we'll say stinky Switch as it is, that Hogwarts Legacy port, still very impressive that they were able to take that game and make it work and run on Switch along with Mortal Kombat 1. So let's go around the horn here and get some thoughts. Micah, this comes off the heels of Gio Corsi joining Nintendo as kind of the head of third party. It seems like, for reading the tea leaves here, as they're prepping for the successor of the Switch, they're really trying to get into more of this third party stuff.
Yeah, I like what this indicates for like what's possible. I still don't have a lot of faith in some of the like high caliber games that, could potentially come to Switch. Like, I don't want to jump ahead, but there are things that I say, like, I still don't know if I'd want to play this particular series on Switch, but seeing what is, at least in my mind, a good move on their part of like what they intend to do, what they are focusing on of, yeah, we need more third-party games that run really well on our console. This is something that we actually need to really put our back into versus just relying only on the first party, which is, of course, a huge part of why you play on Switch. You know, playing things like Pikmin, playing things like Princess Peach Showtime, like these are games that people buy the systems for because they are unique to Nintendo and it's the only place you can play it. But it is important to give your customers the best value possible. Being able to play Hogwarts Legacy on Switch was huge for the kids who only have a Switch, you know, for all those Harry Potter kids out there. And it's like, that's their only console at home. They didn't have to miss out. It might not have been exactly the same experience, but they didn't have to miss out on it. So I like what this says about their planning, about like what their goals are. I still don't have a lot of confidence for some of these franchises, you know, that people are hoping to get on Switch. There's some things that I'm just like, I don't know about that one, but I like what this says about the direction they want to go in, especially for this next generation, and what they want to continue moving towards, like as a company. I do like this move and like what it says about their future goals and everything.
Gene, before we go to you, I probably should have read this off the top because it's basically just asking the same question I did. But I want to read from Tao Tansua, who says, "Hey guys, I wanted to ask your thoughts on Nintendo making an acquisition from Embracer Group. Who would have thought the acquisition discourse would come to this podcast?" That's right. After years of seeing just about everyone making questionable purchases, it seems Nintendo made a genius move in snatching up 100% of Shiver, since they've made some amazing efforts porting things to Switch like Mortal Kombat and Hogleg. Also, shout out to Gene Park for his feature in Rolling Stone. Yeah, I saw that. Gene, you look hot in those pics.
Yeah, that was that's our award-winning portrait photographer, Marvin.
Yeah, he did a great job.
He does. He's photographed so many celebrities and me too. So
very nice. So, yeah, Gene, what do you think about this, Nintendo getting in on the acquisition wars to some small degree?
Yeah, I mean, it's smart. It's a lot of what I think, what we praise, what Colin praises Sony for, using some of their studios wisely for different projects. Obviously, Nixie's for the PC ports, right? And it's what I think a lot of people wish Microsoft would have done, right? With Tango, hey, you have a footprint in Japan. Why don't you just keep that studio around to have a footprint in Japan that's useful? Kind of like how Sony might be using, Bungie for live service games, or, Shift Up for maybe mobile games or whatever. So Nintendo has their own little unit to I don't know, port games or whatever, and the Mortal Kombat 1, port, I have that too. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
it got better. It was really, really terrible, but it got better. So
right,
yeah.
It
was obviously really terrible because you had to meet the fucking deadline for releasing it on Mortal Monday or whatever. Remember when Mortal Kombat was like on every console, like every platform? And they all had to do it at the same time.
Yeah. Well, that was the one I'm trying to remember, because we talked about it at one point that we're like, yeah, like the loading was horrendously bad.
It was awful. It's a Switch. That's what it's. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's a Switch, because Mortal Kombat 11 ran great on the Switch, actually.
Right.
Well, and hearing you say that it has improved since launch is good, because I was a little confused why it was getting so much praise, because I was like, I saw those character models. I saw what they did to some of these people. They looked horrendous. It's like I watched these things, but I did not play the game.
It was
myself,
comedic. It was definitely meme worthy. But I mean, what else can you expect?
So I'm glad to hear that it has improved at least, because I was like, why is this being brought up as a success? Like, that game looked terrible, objectively terrible.
But they were rushed on Mortal Kombat because they had to rush it on launch day, versus Hogwarts Legacy, which they actually delayed for a year.
Yes.
When that came out, I was like, oh, this is a great Switch port, because they actually had time to work on it. So yeah, poured them on the Mortal Kombat port. I actually had that on physical on the Switch. which is funny because you can only play 8 characters on a cartridge, and you can't play story mode at all. Story mode is not included, so you can only play 8 characters and fight them. But
So let's go ahead and go to James Hill here, who says, "Hey Fisters, the newly purchased Shiver Entertainment did some magic to port Hogwarts Legacy to Switch. With what the rumored specs are for Switch 2, could Shiver port games such as COD, NCAA, and GTA 6? Have a great day." And that will be kind of the interesting question, because you think about a game like Hogwarts Legacy, which I guess did come to PS4, but even at the time when the PS4 version came out, we were like, damn, it's really pushing it. I don't know how they're going to be able to pull this off on Switch, but they were able to do it. And sure, it is severely compromised in many ways, but ports like that are reminders that we live in our own hardcore gaming bubble, that a lot of times there's kids or not just kids, but even just more casual players that don't need the loading times to be instant. They don't need it to be in like perfect crispy 4K or stuff like that. Those things don't matter as much for a very large audience. And so hearing and seeing that if Hogwarts Legacy can run on the original Switch to some degree, imagining what this team will be able to do with the next Switch opens up pretty interesting possibilities, especially as we are finally getting to the point where we're seeing actual native PS5 and Xbox Series X games that don't come to last gen. How are those going to be able to hop over? And so a team like Shiver sounds like they'll be able to do some of these things for third parties. But Call of Duty, as far as I know, I mean, Microsoft made that thing where they said they intend to release Call of Duty on Nintendo Switch. Would Shiver do it? Probably. Maybe not. Like, I would imagine that they would probably try to do that in-house, but I don't know. Like, maybe I could see like a port of Cyberpunk coming to the next Switch, or a bunch of other things. I'm trying to think. Like, Gene, I know you're a fan of these Switch ports. You talked about playing Nier Automata, ported over to Switch. You mentioned Mortal Kombat,
Witcher 3, Doom. I love all the weird Switch ports that they just try to squeeze into the little system. I think it's so fascinating how much the Switch can actually do, but also we were just talking last week about how Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is going to come to PS4 and Xbox One. Of course it's going to come to PS4 and Xbox One. You know why? Because most people haven't upgraded to PS5 and the Xbox Series. You know why? Because, as you said, most people don't care about the latest tech reveals. It's why the Switch is still the best-selling system right now. It's why half of the Sony audience hasn't jumped onto PS5, because PS4 is just fine.
Yeah.
What's the game of the generation right now? It's Elden Ring on PS4 and Xbox One. Or Baldur's Gate 3, which is not that demanding.
As far as games that haven't made it over yet, is there any that like a dream project for you? I mean, I guess it could be Shiver, because they're the topic of conversation right now, but they're not the only ones doing this as well. Panic Button is the one. They're the guys that did the Doom ports as well. So Is there anything in particular that you would be excited about to see ported over to ideally the next Switch?
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring
could probably run too. I'm sure Elden Ring could probably run on the regular Switch.
Yeah, I wonder.
I bet it could. I bet it could pull it off. Just like really, really crunchy 480p, but
Yeah, I wonder if they would have to break up the world into like levels, like zones, or maybe not. I guess you think about Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom is massive, and they're able to zone into underground, no problem too, right? And then The Witcher 3 has like so much talking, and so many NPCs, and they were able to port that just fine. And like there was no drop in like the NPC crowds in The Witcher 3 either, which is incredible. So yeah, I think the Switch could pull off Elden Ring right now.
Micah, to show your dedication to not only Nintendo but this podcast, when Witcher 4 comes out, we're requiring you to play it on Switch. However, no matter what it's like, I'm sorry, that's what you signed up for.
I mean, I would maybe give it a go. This is what I am concerned about with some of the ports. If it's like it's not a can we, it's a should we, But you bring up a really good point, Dustin, in that essentially you don't know what you're missing. Okay, when I was playing Octopath Traveler 2 on Switch and I'm watching Colin play it on PlayStation, and his had all these pretty effects that mine didn't. Like there was this like sparkly overlay, I think it was over the map, like the world map, and it's like mine doesn't have that. And I never would have known unless I had watched him play it on his console. There is a lot of truth to that, in unless you're the type of person who's watching every Digital Foundry video to compare performance across different consoles and across PC, how everything plays on each system, you're not necessarily going to know what you're missing unless something's incredibly janky. Something like I have heard terrible things about the Batman Arkham, ports to Switch, for example. Those I have heard are not great.
Oh, I bought those too. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And so those I have heard are just not very good. Maybe to the degree that even if you hadn't played it before, you'd be like, this game's kind of weird. So there is a lot of truth to not knowing what you're missing if you're not someone who is going to go compare all the potential ways to play the game. I used to be a little more diligent about, okay, I'm going to see which, what are people saying about performance, and is Switch a good place to play it? I have become a bit more willing to just be like, I'm just going to buy it on Switch, Unicorn Overlord Switch. Who cares? That's going to run fine. But some of these experiences, the question bringing up like, oh, what about like Grand Theft Auto 6? And I can't picture it running on Switch, especially knowing it's like if they're going to do such a robust online experience like they did for Grand Theft Auto 5, I'm like, I don't see that coming to Switch. But who knows? I would be hopeful that we could at least get some sort of version of it. But because like portable Grand Theft Auto would be amazing. All right, those games have so much to do. That'd be perfect to play handheld. But I don't know. My expectations are still pretty low for what I think performance of the Switch 2 will be compared to its contemporary consoles.
I think the big takeaway overall as we exit this topic is just that it's very cool and interesting to see Nintendo. Apparently, if we're reading the tea leaves correctly here, that they're taking a much stronger interest in being involved directly with third party, just because, as I mentioned, the hiring of Gio Corsi to kind of head that up, the acquisition of Shiver. It'll be interesting to see how that plays into their strategy for Switch 2 and maybe even partially Switch 1 as it lives alongside the current Switch, because you imagine they're not going to be quite ready to give up the millions and millions of players. And so who knows, maybe Shiver even will be involved in directly porting some of their own games, which they mentioned in the thing that I read, that they're still going to be operating the same way. But who's to say Nintendo might not be one of their quote unquote clients that's looking for porting some of their stuff over. Moving on, there's not a ton to go off here, but it's still interesting nonetheless. This comes from Twitter user Ribshark, who posted a tweet that got quite a bit of attention. He said, there seems to be code for handling 4K resolutions in the new Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door remake. No idea if this was normal for Switch games or not, but I thought it was interesting. And so you can see some code here, which obviously I don't understand at all, other than you can see that it has 1280 by 720p, which is going to be the handheld resolution, 1080p 1920 for what I assume is the main screen version. And then there is the 2160 by 3840 for a full 4K. So the speculation has gone rampant. Is the next Switch, is there some kind of support already built in to the game for this? I'd be curious if other data miners have looked in and found anything like that. But it's interesting nonetheless, as we've been talking about some of these games being ported over, or I guess not even necessarily ported over, but just enhanced on the next Switch. So, like I said, not a ton here, but I want to gauge what you guys thought about this. Micah, would you be interested in seeing, I know you're through and through handheld, but the thought of seeing Paper Mario in 4K after seeing some of the, too crispiness, some of the like stair stepping, 4K would be pretty nice.
Yeah, my takeaway when it comes to like graphical improvements is always, even if it's not something I care a lot about, it's still better for the consumer. It's still better for the market overall if Nintendo is improving their product. So yeah, the rare times that I do play games like on the big screen, of course I want them to look nice. So like this is totally a positive if they are able to go in that direction. But it really doesn't matter too much to me, aside from, oh, it's nice that if they are moving that way, if this is going to be like their new standard, that's excellent for customers. So I'd be very happy to see that actually become true.
Gene, Nintendo's always been, I feel like they're like a resolution step behind every generation, where it's like, at this point, like I feel like 4K TVs are probably the standard in most people's homes at this point, whereas when Switch 1 came out, that was right around the time Horizon Zero Dawn came, because I remember there's the like Breath of the Wild totally like outshining Horizon in that moment despite being an older game, but that was when I got my first 4K TV and I felt like I was ahead of the curve at the time. But now it seems like, everyone has 4K TVs, so this feels like a natural step. The question is the power of the Switch 2, obviously speculation, whether or not it'll be able to hit that, whether it'll be upscaling. But what do you think about this little hidden code nestled in here? Does it mean anything?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. Probably means that'll be in 4K. I don't know. I expect that. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. You mentioned that 4K TVs are standard. I don't know about that. I don't.
Here,
maybe it's Washington D.C., but every time I go to someone's house, they always have a really really shitty TV out here. So I feel like I probably just know people who just don't really value like TV entertainment. Because they usually just have TV on to like fucking watch the news or just have something on in the background or just like watch a show or whatever, versus like, I'm trying to see Oppenheimer in 4K,
I'm trying to, okay, so I did a quick Google search, brought up a site called Statista. Yeah. And this says in 2022, ages 18 to 34, only 30% have 4K TVs. So I guess this is a bubble thing where it's like, I have a 4K TV.
Again, yeah, I think it's a bubble. I think most people don't care about 4K. I think most people don't care about 60 FPS. I don't think most people care about the PS5 or the Xbox Series S or X. I think most people are just fine with a shitty little 1080p TV or 720p TV. They probably have their Nintendo Switch hooked up to it and the PS4 hooked up to it. And they've been playing Fortnite and Call of Duty for the last few years. They have a great time.
Yeah, it's like I quickly went to Target and searched TVs to see what was the first one to come up, like the first few. So we got a Vizio D-Series 40-inch 1080p. Next one, Westinghouse 32-inch 720p TV.
Yeah, see?
The second, $150 40-inch 1080p 720p.
People are buying those. So flat screens are obviously everywhere. I think that's for sure. Everyone has a flat screen, and so it's really funny when people think, "Oh my God, you got a flat screen TV." No, most people have a flat screen TV, but I don't think most people have 4K, which is why like it's so stupid that the PS5 Pro is going to come out with 8K. And it's like, yeah, no one's. It's going to be for us. Fuck. Most of you in the Sacred Symbols audience played Red Dead Redemption 2 just fine on the shitty ass PS4 port. I'm sorry that I could not play Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PS4. Playing Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PS4 felt like playing Witcher 3 on a Nintendo Switch for me. That's why I had to buy an Xbox Series X. But all of you still seem to play just fine to the point where you called it your best game for the PlayStation 4. And Sacred 200, right?
Yeah. I play on PS4 Pro. But you're right, the Series X version.
It was awful on the PS4 Pro. I couldn't stand it on the PS4 Pro. You know?
Okay, because the difference
Yeah,
was
see, exactly. See, you thought it was just fine. I could not deal with it. I could not deal with it.
Here's the thing, Gene. So I said Series X. I meant Xbox One X.
One X. Yes.
I believe the difference was the One X version was native 4K.
Native
and
4K.
The PS4 Pro version was upscaled to 4K.
Yeah.
And I remember when that game came out, I remember thinking, do I need to buy an Xbox One X to play this at native 4K?
That's what happened with me. Yeah.
And then I think I was already decently far into the game because I kind of just like went in trying to not think about it. And then eventually I watched the Digital Foundry video and I was like, well, I can't. I can't do it at this point. But
it was a Digital Foundry video that fucked me up, where I was playing on the PS4 Pro and I was like, this looks like Vaseline. And then I watched it on Digital Foundry and I was like, fuck, I knew it. This is not working out well for me right now. So, but yeah, but it's still Sacred's favorite PlayStation 4 game, which I disagree with, but yeah.
Oh, what's your favorite PS4 game?
It should be a PS4 exclusive. I don't think it should be a multi-platform game.
Oh, interesting. So that you're disagreeing with the whole methodology of.
I'm disagreeing with the whole methodology. Putting Red Dead Redemption 2 even in the top 10 is just not the way to go. I think it should be an exclusive game.
Sacred 200, a scam, in the words of Gene Park. So
fraud. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I've been mad about it ever since.
And then you joined the company
for 100 episodes. Yeah, and then I joined the company just to set you guys right.
That's good. The one thing I will mention about this is one theory that I saw floating around that I think could make sense, just to not get our hopes up too much, is that, and I'd be curious if anyone looks into Switch data mining, if this is available in other games as well. I would imagine that a lot of Switch games have some kind of 4K code for dev mode, that if they need to pull larger assets from the game, that they would be able to do that and not have them be stuck at 1080p if they want to make something for a billboard or something in print, that they'll be able to get a higher resolution by putting it in some kind of 4K mode. That could be a possibility, but I'm not exactly sure if that's available in other games. That would make sense to me. I remember particularly being at the last PAX I went to and seeing they had a giant screen that they had Animal Crossing up on, and I was like, there's no way that's running at Switch resolution. Like, they had to run the game at a higher resolution for that giant screen because it would have looked so bad on it. So potentially that's floating around out there. Mm-hmm. Next one is Nintendo opening up another store here in the US. So the official statement from Nintendo says, quote, Nintendo of America today announced plans to open an official store in San Francisco's iconic Union Square, providing a way for a wide range of visitors from near and far to experience the world of Nintendo, its products, and characters. The store, called Nintendo San Francisco, will open in 2025 as the second official location in the US, joining the store in New York City. Please stay tuned for more information as the new store opening approaches. So we've talked a good deal about the Nintendo store in New York, Nintendo New York, and that's been the only store in the US probably, I think, ever. I don't think there's ever been any other official Nintendo store. And so now Nintendo opening up to the West Coast over in San Francisco. Gene, what do you think about it? I know you're a big fan of Nintendo New York. You didn't get to go when we were in New York City this last time, but I thought that San Francisco felt like an interesting location just because I felt like Los Angeles would have made more sense because that's where they have Nintendo World, where, maybe if someone's in the area when they're not a Nintendo World, they'll want to go to there instead. And I just feel like as more of a tourist destination, Los Angeles makes more sense. But no, San Francisco is the place. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at that. You're right, and that LA would and Hollywood would just be just make a lot more sense. Maybe they just want to just be closer to the tech crowd. Maybe just a real estate is better. They did close out of LA during the pandemic, so maybe there's some data where they feel like Southern California is just not where they should be. But yeah, you're right in that. I'm a little surprised. San Francisco is where all the games media are, you know. So you'll have plenty of gaming personalities and gaming journalists filtering in and out of the store. That said, LA is where all the creators are at, you know, YouTube creators, TikTok creators, and everything. So you're missing out on that level of influence. So I don't know, but it's good to hear that they're expanding and putting out more stores. Make a DC store. I'll be the only one there, but you know.
So I'm trying to remember. I'm looking because it's been a lot of years since I've been to San Francisco. I'm sure I've been to Union Square, but I don't remember it specifically. And man, the thought of going to San Francisco now, just because I was there supposedly when it was good, and I was like, man, this place is not for me. But Micah, as far as Nintendo opening a second store, and Gene, jokingly mentions opening a DC store, I don't know. Do you think this could be a possibility that we see even more Nintendo stores pop up, almost like, maybe not quite to this extent, but like I remember going to the Disney store at certain malls, everything's super overpriced and dumb stuff there. But I know, to each their own. But I mean, a Nintendo store, if there was one in Pittsburgh, I'd be there anytime, any chance I could get. Do you think there could be more?
Potentially. I think Nintendo is going to be really careful about opening like more brick and mortar spaces because of the way the market just works these days. Colin and I were joking. We were out for our evening walk yesterday and we overheard these kids outside playing. They were maybe like 8 or 9. And one of them said, "I've never been to the mall." And I said to Colin, I was like, I was probably at the mall before I could walk. My mom would have been carting me around shopping. Like, it's really weird to hear a kid who was easily 8 or 9 years old saying, "I've never been to the mall." We live near 2 malls. Okay. So like there are plenty of options for them to have gone to one by now, but their parents have never brought them to the mall. And so I feel like this Nintendo is going to keep this as a boutique, very unique experience, have great exclusives, I'm sure. But part of what I see as maybe being a hang up is you go to a store like Target and tons of Nintendo collectibles, whether it's like the World of Nintendo figures, whether it's the plush that you can get, backpacks, like cool Switch cases. Like in reality, you go to Target or Walmart, the Nintendo section of the video games is the most robust. Whereas you see the PlayStation and Xbox games just dwindling and maybe only a few copies of each. At my local Target, at least, and my local Walmart, the Switch games are usually pretty well stocked. And then the Nintendo section is filled with collectibles, notebooks, water bottles, like tons of things. So they already have a pretty good selection at a different store. I don't see them opening a ton of Nintendo stores, especially if it took them this long just to say like, yeah, let's open another one, across the country. I would love it if they did, because they're putting this in another place that I will never go to, probably. I've only been to California once in my life, so I don't know what my chances are of getting to this Nintendo store, right? But I think they're going to be pretty careful with this and maintain it as being something that is a really unique experience. And they don't want to end up opening 10 stores and closing half of them in 5 years. That's definitely not what they're after.
Right. It feels like the Nintendo, at least in New York, and I assume it will be this way in San Francisco, it's a tourist destination. When you go there, a lot of people, I mean, I'm sure a lot of New Yorkers go there. A lot of people from San Francisco will go to this one, but it is a place that when you're in New York, when you're there on vacation or business or whatever, it's like, man, you gotta stop there. And if they were everywhere, it would be not quite the same, but definitely fits in Nintendo's strategy of like all, the thing we keep saying about that chart where everything feeds into the game. It's just more places for people to interact with the brand from a very corporate standpoint. So we'll be watching that opening in 2025. Last news item, and we're dealing with more rumors and speculation, and that is the leaker Midori on Twitter. You may remember Midori leaked a lot of stuff about Persona and some different Sega stuff, has connections in Japan, made some tweets about Kingdom Hearts. And so, for some context, first they, in response to Kingdom Hearts games coming to Switch, they said, the Steam ports were in development since last summer. A company named Bitgroove is working on Missing Link, and the next beta test would be in April. That's the mobile game. Kingdom Hearts 4 has some small online features and looks very different from the first trailer, and the quote name is Quattro. And then, this is the important tweet. It says, the entire series and Kingdom Hearts 4 might come to the next Nintendo Switch hardware. And so I find this really funny overall, just because some of you may remember the controversy around the current state of Kingdom Hearts on Switch being those horrible cloud versions. Especially this is funny coming off light of talking about games like Hogwarts Legacy and The Witcher and stuff like that coming to, or, you know, being on Nintendo Switch, and then these old PS2 games run via a cloud version. But it seems like Square Enix, and we talked about last episode about them taking a more multi-platform approach, may be considering Kingdom Hearts 4 for the next Nintendo Switch and potentially the entire series. So, Micah, what do you think about this? When are we going to get you on this? Is it when these when the whole series comes to Switch native or Switch 2, whatever? Can we get you in?
Oh, Dustin, you know, I admire your enthusiasm. All right. Don't look at me like that, boy. I don't think there's ever a scenario where I'm going to get into Kingdom Hearts.
There is no reality.
I say this because I watched my first boyfriend. He was a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. I watched him play through the first and second one, and I was just backseat gaming. I was along for the ride, just watched him play through them. I just don't get it. I just dislike, in general, I dislike games that are really convoluted, games that have stories I cannot understand. Okay, like I can't jive with it. I need to at least have some grasp on what's happening without having to say, well, you got to play 1.5, 0.5, 3/8 of pi squared. You can't do this to me that like, oh, well, you'll know what's happening if you play 6 games of it, then you'll know what's happening. You can't get me into a series like that. If they were to give us the Yakuza 0 treatment, right, where like, here's an entry point into the series, start here. But it's like, dude, I watched this guy play the first 2 games and I still had no idea. I was like, what is going on here? I also am just not a huge Disney person. And that's just like, I liked the movies when I was a kid. I never watched like any of the new Disney stuff, right? Like I'm just not a big Disney person. So the appeal on that level is like, I like the Winnie the Pooh stage because I want to help him out. But otherwise, I just don't really get into it. I don't want to let you down, Dustin. Maybe someday I'd try it. But
yeah, this is all a bit rich coming from a Xenoblade fan.
Ship, I'm not dealing with that, Dustin.
Xenoblade is nice and neat. Just play 1, 2, and 3. That's it.
Yeah, but the story, I'm seeing like 8-hour explanations on YouTube.
No, like the story for 1, very simple.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Are there a couple weird things involved? Sure, but like I literally watched those first 2 Kingdom Hearts games start to finish. I can't tell you what the fuck was going on. I don't even remember. I'm like, what's going on with the sea salt ice cream? What the hell is that about? Ice cream. The shoes with the boys. Why are the shoes so big? I don't like this one bit. I just don't. I can't get into it, Dustin. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. Xenoblade 3 might be the most confusing, but it's only because it's operating off information of Xenoblade 1 and 2, So I think that's really about it. But, Micah, you played Xenoblade. Did you play Xenoblade 3? Not yet, right?
Oh, not yet. I'm on 2 right now.
Yeah, okay. I won't even say anything then, so.
Gene, what do you think about this? I know that, you...
You know my answer. I'm very excited for this.
You've deeply disappointed me. I don't know if there's any, you said you were going to play it. And now you kind of, wimped out in a lot of ways. So.
I still have, number one, I still have Kingdom Hearts installed on my PS5 and my PS4, but I'm thinking I was going to continue on the PS5. 2, because it's coming out on Steam and Steam Deck, I just feel like Kingdom Hearts are perfect mobile games,
Yeah.
So as soon as I saw the Steam announcement, I was so excited. I was like, man, I can't. I've been waiting for the Kingdom Hearts series to go on PC. I knew that as soon as it gets on Steam, like that was gonna be the huge moment. Yeah, obviously I have all in one on PS4, and that's cool. And I think I still might play those, but I think it would just be nice to just play on the Steam Deck. So I'm so excited for that.
It makes sense since they did these Steam ports that it might be an easy way for them to bring them
to
over.
do on Nintendo. Yeah, it totally. I'm 1,000% certain that Kingdom Hearts is coming to Nintendo.
They need to make good though. If someone, some poor sucker out there bought those cloud versions, and if it works for you,
give them an upgrade path. Yeah.
let them have it, please.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You just give them the fucking game. Yeah, give them the fucking game. That'd be great, Square Enix. Or at the very least, yeah, at least give them an upgrade path. Because to be fair, they were stupid enough to buy the cloud version. So, that is your punishment for buying the cloud version. But we could be nice to you and just give you an upgrade path, a nice $5, $10 upgrade path to just get the full game. Yeah, per game.
All right, let's go ahead and move into the quickies here. There's been a tiny bit more news for the Dragon Quest HD 2D remake. They just put out like a new image on Twitter, confirming, as we originally knew, coming to Switch, but also coming to PlayStation and Xbox as well. So I wonder if in the next couple weeks we're going to see new info on this, whether it's through Summer Game Fest or some other thing. But it's nice to know just because it's been a while since we've heard from these games. Next one is Lego. Gene, you mentioned this, so I don't know if you're interested. Lego has announced a Great Deku Tree 2-in-1 set. This just is hot off the press today at the time of recording. So the unique thing about the set is that it can be built as the Ocarina of Time version of the Deku Tree or the Breath of the Wild version.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it has minifigs for all of them.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Did you thought it had two?
I thought it was just like the Breath of the Wild Deku Tree, and I was like, okay, cool.
Dude, I think it's kind of cool that you can kind of choose which one you want. This is less. Okay. This is disappointing.
That's cool.
Oh,
that's cool.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I think that's amazing because I was like, let's talk about the price of this thing.
Yeah, $299.
$300 for this Lego set. And so I think you were talking to Sacred about how expensive Lego sets are, and like they're like the cost of a whole console. So this is the cost of a whole Nintendo Switch. That's really expensive. So when I saw that, I was like, fuck that. Fuck Lego, right? And then I saw a picture of Zelda putting in the little tablet into the little slot. And I was like, oh man, I remember that. Having a little thing to put in the thing, a little action figure to put the thing in the thing. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Okay. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I might want it. Maybe, and then you think about like, yeah, it is fun to complete a Lego set. And it is Zelda. And I was like, well, it's just one tree. And now you're telling me that you can have any tree?
Well, you pick one or the other.
Oh.
It can be built, to my understanding, it can be built either way. You can choose Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. But you get both, though, in the set, right?
You do. Right. You just can't build two trees. It's just one tree.
Yeah, you get two trees for the price of $300.
Well, yeah.
For the price of one, which is $300, I guess. So technically you're buying two trees, I guess.
Two potential tree options.
Yeah.
I like how Dustin is like, you're like the legal guy who has to word this correctly on the packaging so that they know like only one tree is included, like only one tree can be built per set. This though, when I saw the listing, and this is just me being dumb, I saw where it said 2,500 pieces, but I glanced at it quickly and thought it said 2,500 pounds, and I was like, wow, it's the size of like a real fucking tree. Like they made it so dense, it weighs as much as a real tree. And then I was like, that doesn't even seem possible. And then I saw it's 2,500 pieces. Okay. Which is just absurd. I can't do that. These Lego sets are crazy. I've never experienced one of these like jumbo Lego sets before, and this just seems like madness.
But you can put a Skulltula in the back of the tree, though.
Gene's gonna buy this. We already have this established.
No, I'm not going to buy this because I know I'm not going to build it. I'm not going to build
No,
this.
you're
I'm
gonna.
not.
You can't resist. This is your hot dog shirt. All right, you saw this, and you're gonna keep thinking about it, just like I kept thinking about that hot dog shirt.
I will keep thinking about it though. I will keep thinking about this. But yeah, I'm not going to get it though.
For most of Last Stand, I mean, Gene gets codes for Washington Post. So I'm just saying, on behalf of the Washington Post, I'm going to speak for them right now. Lego, send one of these bad boys to Gene. He's not going to write a review in the paper, but maybe a social media post. I mean, why not?
You know what? I tell people that all the time. I'm like, you know what? If you want to send it to me, go ahead, but I'm not going to cover it, or I probably won't cover it. And they're like, yeah, it's fine. You know, if you want to talk about it, that's cool. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So being an influencer is cool. You know, like that was in your door. I wasn't going to review it, but Nintendo was like, here's a code anyways. So
that's nice. Yeah.
Thanks, Nintendo.
Micah, we were talking, I think the discussion on Sacred was the Lord of the Rings, like the Eye of Sauron set that they're releasing. I don't know if you've seen this. Here, I'll send you.
I didn't, because I assumed you were going to mention the Rivendell set.
Oh, that set was amazing.
Wanted, but that's like $500.
Yeah, the Eye of Sauron.
It's so crazy.
It's $460.
$460. Holy
dude,
crap!
But it's so cool. Oh my god,
they are really cool. But
I wish I hadn't known this existed. This is like, oh my god!
And it has a minifig for the mouth of Sauron. He's got his little fucked up mouth and stuff, you know?
He does. Do they have one of Denethor eating a tomato?
That would be awesome. Oh my god,
the picture of the guy building it. He's wearing like a little sweater.
Wait,
oh my god.
Wait, where's he?
It's picture number 13.
They know that a kid is not building this. Like this is an adult.
This is for me,
male or adult female, whatever, but not a kid. This is someone who's got money to burn.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah, no, this is for daddy. This is not for kitten.
I just watched a video of a guy. This is like, you know, YouTube just spits out random shit to see if you're interested, and every once in a while it does. There's a video of a guy doing a speedrun build of the Lego Millennium Falcon. And it took him, the speedrun was like 16 hours. So he got it. And part of it is that you have to use every piece. But sometimes Lego will throw in extra pieces every once in a while. So he had this extra piece, but it didn't feel right. So he after it was like practically certified that he got the world record, he like couldn't deal with the fact there was this extra piece, and he fucking found where it went. And he missed one piece. And so they were like, yeah, sorry. We can't give you the record. And
oh man,
he could have just not said anything though. I mean, he could have just taken that piece and like swallowed it or something and just acted like it never existed. But an honest man not wanting to claim a false record. So good for him. Can't be said for the same about video game speed. Like there's like the whole Billy May business, but
oh yeah. Like I think Colin mentioned this once on a show, and this is a very quick tangent. The like jigsaw puzzle speed runs that we have been watching. There are these jigsaw puzzle tournaments where you do a puzzle as fast as you can. But if your box is missing pieces, which happens sometimes, like because they're literally having like, you know, 100 people competing, and just statistically, sometimes you'll get your puzzle and there's a piece missing, right? Mm-hmm. And they add on like 10 seconds for that missing piece. And it's like, it's not my fault that the box didn't have the piece in it, because they have like volunteers who open like everything's inspected basically. Like they take away your trash. They make sure that you didn't leave pieces like in the box essentially when they take it off your table. So it's like there are several points of contact where it's like, no, clearly this box was missing a piece, but you get penalized for it. And it's like, oh my God, it's just madness. But if you haven't seen these, for the people out there, these jigsaw puzzle speedruns are just incredible. Like, I don't know, man. There's something about it that really like scratched that good part of my brain.
Yeah, that sounds intriguing. I might have to look into that. I'm always down for a
Holly
weird
would love it.
YouTube rabbit hole. Holly needs something new. I've been getting up. So with Holly being pregnant, she wakes up before me no matter what, 'cause she just gets uncomfortable laying in bed. She goes downstairs, eats breakfast, and starts watching something on YouTube. She's been watching she was watching all these videos about the history of feudal Japan, and then it moved into the USSR, and then she was watching the history of like communist China. So she's kind of hitting the bottom of the barrel of pregnancy YouTube watching. So
The baby be a history buff because like the baby can hear.
he can hear.
The baby can hear the outside world, and like he's like in the womb, like writing down notes, and like
Oh, yeah.
your kid's just gonna be like, they're gonna get to high school history and be like, I know all this. I already know.
He's going to have his own little communist manifesto by the time that he comes out ready to go, which is concerning.
But he's born with like a Karl Marx beard already.
Yeah.
Like.
I don't know about that. Don't know about that, but we'll see what happens. Okay, this was a weird one. Masahiro Sakurai, creator of Super Smash Bros., of course, revealed that Dolby Surround was originally going to be included in Kirby Air Ride, but it was abandoned because it added 1 to 2 seconds of waiting at the splash screen that said Dolby Surround. He was like, yeah, he said like the exact quote was like along the lines. He was like, yeah, I don't want to disrespect players' time. And I think about each time someone boots up the game and how that adds up and then multiply that across potentially millions, I guess maybe not for the GameCube, but thousands and thousands of players. It's a lot of wasted time. And so he cut that feature to save us time. Personally, I would have rather had the Dolby Surround on Kirby Air Ride, but, what he say goes. So, interesting tidbit. Last one here. New Nintendo Switch Online Game Boy games were added to celebrate the 35th anniversary of Game Boy. Those are Alleyway, Baseball, and Super Mario Land been added. Super Mario Land, I played this for a few minutes the other day because that was a game I had growing up. It's just not very good. The Mario is just a little tiny guy in this one. Doesn't feel right. I would recommend playing Super Mario Land 2 over this instead. But it's available there for you if you want to check it out. Let's get into, I guess this probably will be short, what we've been playing. I've just been playing Paper Mario, and Micah, you put here that you've been playing Paper Mario, so I don't have anything else really I've been playing very much outside of that, but I wanted to throw it to you, Gene, because I know you're always playing stuff. So, anything you want to add?
Nothing on the Switch really. I did boot up you brought up Nier Automata, the Nier Automata port. I actually kind of wanted to revisit that again, just to see where I was at. And I didn't finish ending E on that one, so I think I might just go for that one. But yeah, I just wanted to see where just Stellar Blade Discourse made me just kind of miss Nier, so I tooled around for that one. But mostly I've just been playing Elden Ring. It's just
hop back in.
You're in too?
Well, I was messing around with my main character, and then I was like, I don't want to start a new game here before a new game plus. So I just started a new character. I was like, boy, I am very rusty. So I've been playing a new character in preparation for the DLC, but I'm not going to use that character for the DLC. I'm going to use my original character. It's mainly for, my muscle memory to come back to me as for playing.
Yeah. So I mentioned this. I talk more deeply on Summon Sign, so go listen to that. But right now I have a PC save ready, and it's actually my original file from my review code way back in 2022 that I never actually finished because I just basically finished it on PS5. And also on PS5, I have one save that's completely done, but I didn't want to do that one. So I started a new save and that was going to be my prep. And then I screwed up the Volcano Manor quests. I forgot that the Volcano Manor is an absolute landmine of missable quests. Like that's just like where so much of the missable content is. So if you beat the boss of Volcano Manor, like 5 different quests are just gone.
That happened to me.
Yeah. So including my favorite armor set, the Raging Wolf armor set, which is the default armor set, the armor set that's in trailers, so the one that's on that would have been on cover. I think that is on the cover. Yeah. So I started all over again on PS5, and then so I'm actually done again. It was a long weekend, but I actually marathoned the hell out of Elden Ring, and I am back to where I am. I'm actually sitting in front of Moog's Egg right now in the second save that I started with the Raging Wolf armor set. I even have I'm even betrothed to Ronnie already again. I always go for the ending. I never go for any other ending. I don't think any other ending is as good as the Moon ending, the Ronnie ending. You know, I don't know. I don't see the story ending any other way. You know,
Yeah, fair enough.
she is Bae. You know, I can't resist her charms,
dude. And I love
have you seen her? Have you
the
seen her,
Wolfman.
Micah? Have you seen her, Micah? The witch, Ronnie the witch.
No.
She's got 4
No,
hands.
I'm very unfamiliar with what you're talking
she's
about
she's
right now.
the same voice actress as Mio in Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Oh,
Which,
all right.
because the Elden Ring and Xenoblade Chronicles uses the same British like voice talent agency or whatever. So yeah, Ronnie's voice is just melts my heart. And so when I heard it Mio, I'm just like, oh my god, Mio, I love you too.
Because Dustin, you'd know, Colin did not get very far in Elden Ring, right? So
Mhm.
I would not have. I watched him play Elden Ring, but I don't. We kept seeing like it was actually really funny because he kept fighting like the tree sentinel guy, and in my head I'm like, I think you should just leave him alone. I didn't say it, but in my because it's like I don't know shit about these games, and in my head I was like, I think you should just leave this guy alone. He kept fighting him, things like that. If I was
Are
like,
you
I don't know
serious?
about this Haas.
Yeah, no
like,
wonder why Colin thinks Elden Ring is too hard, because he was fighting the boss that he's not supposed to fight.
well, that's I think if you're completely unaware of these games, it's like, for example, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 does an oddly similar thing where
Yes.
in the early areas of the game there will be
Yes.
like a level 80 guy just walking around,
Mhm.
and you're prudent to walk around him, but sometimes he'll just target you anyways, even if you take like a very wide berth around him.
Mhm.
And it's like, dude, like, I'm not going to fight this guy, I'm a level 10, and it'll just hit you anyways, right? But it's like, well, you got to know to just keep avoiding it.
Mhm.
But something like Elden Ring, it's why I haven't experienced it myself either, because I'm like, man, I don't like this idea of just being like, all right, this guy looks like a potential opponent, and then it's just like destroyed 3 seconds. I can't get into it either.
That was the issue that Kai Cenat had, where he hit the tree sentinel, which is basically the first enemy you see in Elden Ring. Like right outside, you step out the front door, and Kai ended up spending 5 hours trying to beat him, and he ended up doing it. But it was 5 hours straight of just him dying about 100 sometimes. The difference between Kai and Colin is that Kai was a millionaire and was becoming a millionaire doing it, and Colin just had you watching. And he had to quit out. So I get it, but
Me
also
silently judging the whole time versus a group of people on Twitch like cheering you on, trying to help.
exactly. Yeah, everybody was cheering Kai on, and then Kai was also told that that it wasn't going to happen. So but he kept going at it. So
Yeah, I gotta decide. I don't know. I'll see if I end up. There's part of me that's like, man, I should use the new character that I'm doing instead. But I feel like I got to use my OG character. We'll see. Okay, let's get into some ending questions here to round out the show. This first one comes from Nevitz, who says, Aloha Blockbusters. Now that the Switch is nearing the end, what is a mandatory accessory for your device? The Ethernet USB dongle, a satisfied grip, tempered glass screen protector, a third-party Joy-Con or /controller? For me, it would be the satisfied grip. It has made me look for grips for older handhelds like the PSP 1000 and GBA SP. Thanks, and don't just break bricks, break boundaries. Wow, say that 5 times fast.
wow.
So yeah, mandatory accessories for Switch. I know we've talked a little bit about the Satisfy grip. Gene, you use one of those, right?
I use the satisfied grip, and he's right that I never really thought about grips for handheld devices before. But the Switch is so flat that I think a lot of people wanted to find other solutions. The Steam Deck doesn't really need one, but
Right.
now I'm wondering if the Steam Deck could use one. That could be fun, but it kind of doesn't need one though. The Steam Deck really just melts into your hands ergonomically.
Yeah.
So.
Micah, do you use any Switch accessories, or are you just raw dogging it?
I am just raw dogging it.
Oh.
I regret it a bit, and here's why. Number one, my dog scratched the hell out of my screen.
That's right.
So I should have had a screen protector on it, because then I would still have a nice crispy screen, right? I have told myself since last year that the new Switch is coming. So I'm like, don't buy a grip. Yeah, it might be more comfortable, but the new Switch is coming. And now I'm in that like waiting period of like, I am so tempted to just finally get one, but I'm like, but how much longer do I have to play it? Maybe, it's like, do I buy it now and use it for like a year? Am I going to keep using the Switch, like this current Switch when the new one comes out? I regret not getting more accessories, because in my hubris, in my arrogance, I thought that the new Switch was coming sooner and I should just wait and then get into the accessories with the next one, right? The number one thing, though, I'll say, and this is a little outside of the category they're speaking of, but the Switch Pro controller is fantastic. A major upgrade from the Wii U Pro controller, which was great. But the Switch Pro controller is fantastic, and something I recommend to every Switch owner, whoever uses it, even if you play, because I sometimes play like with the kickstand. Actually, that is the accessory I like. I can't remember. Is it Hori that makes the like? It's like a big A-frame. Well, not big. It's like a tabletop stand for your Switch. So instead of using the kickstand, you can adjust the viewing angle. That's a fantastic accessory that I actually really like and have used quite a bit, because then you can use the Pro controller. You can adjust the angle of the Switch a bit more. That is one I totally recommend. Would be, I think it's by Hori, Hori. They're like A-frame Switch stand. That would be number 2 behind the Switch Pro controller for what I'd say like every Switch owner needs.
Yeah, the Switch Pro controller, dude, I love the battery life on it, especially compared to the other main controller I use, the DualSense Edge, and battery life is abysmal on it.
That touchpad is like sucking up all the battery. I swear to God, like games hardly ever use it, but it's like, I think the touchpad is what's doing
something
it,
is.
But the edge is even worse though. Like you can play for 2 hours and you'll be down to 1 bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dustin?
Yeah. Well, and it's so funny compared to the Switch Pro controller. I might be able to beat, well, I don't know how long Paper Mario is, but in the past, I've beat entire games on a single charge,
one charge
of the Switch Pro controller. And to be fair, it doesn't have the adaptive triggers and stuff, but it does have like a nicer rumble in it, and it's wireless and stuff. But yeah, the Edge controller is just so bad. But the Switch Pro controller, amazing. Highly recommend it. As far as screen protectors, and this is universal for all devices, I highly recommend picking up a nicer screen protector than just getting one on Amazon. I'm not sponsored by this company. I know a lot of YouTubers are, but Dbrand in particular, their screen protectors, I use one on my phone. It is more expensive, but there's nothing worse than getting a screen protector that is like half an inch thick and then it scratches super easily. I found that Dbrands are the best. They always include 2 of them as well, just in case you either break it or you screw up the application or whatever. I really like those ones. I don't use a grip just because I'm not normally playing in handheld mode, but Holly uses the Satisfy grip for her Switch Lite and really likes that. But the only other thing I really use is like I've been using the same case the entire life of the Switch, which is the Breath of the Wild Switch case that comes with the special edition. I've used that the entire time so far. So
yeah, I've been using the DualSense Edge for Elden Ring, using those back buttons for holding down a circle for a run. So it's nice.
Essential.
So it's nice. So it's so nice to just like sprint around an enemy and just keep them on camera, but also have like not engage the lock on, because not engaging the lock on in Dark Souls in Souls games is sometimes a much better tactic. Sometimes the camera lock on will fuck you up. So it's to have complete cam control and actions and to be able to sprint around. Like that's how I've been able to blast through Elden Ring pretty quickly, because I feel like I've been playing like a fucking pro player, one button on sprint and 1 button jump, So I'm just sprinting and jumping over attacks like I'm Sekiro. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I've been playing it plugged in, locked in. I actually lost my DualSense Edge wire, but I was able to find it in my boxes, and I found
nice.
a little plug. So the DualSense Edge actually comes with like a nice long cord, right? And I think it's supposed to be kind of wired in. So that's how I've been playing. So I haven't been running out of batteries on the Edge, but when I feel like taking the wire off and I go with that, an hour later, I'm just down to a single tick on the battery bar. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I wonder, the one accessory when Switch came out that I didn't understand, but now I do. Do you guys remember that standalone Joy-Con charger? Yeah, they don't sell it on Nintendo's website anymore. It's like a Joy-Con charging dock. So you can like slot in 4 extra Joy-Cons. And I remember when that came out, I was like, why would anyone want that? And then the first time you want to use multiple sets of Joy-Cons at a party and your old ones have been sitting there on your shelf for 6 months and you have to individually charge them on your Switch like in advance. Like, man, I guess I should have got one of those, but I don't even know if they make them. I'm sure a third party does, but
yeah. I also like this controller too, the 8-bit Do.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. These are good. The 8-bit Do Pro, programmable buttons, has back buttons too. So, I haven't really used it because, we don't really need like that much functionality for the Switch games. So, but
yeah,
it was cool. It's got the Nintendo colorway. So,
yeah, I have one of those. Mine doesn't have the handles on it, but it's more like traditional Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
All right. Next question here comes from Stu Dog, who says, "Hey, Brickfisters, what Nintendo game reminds you the most of your childhood? For me, it's Cruising USA on Nintendo 64 and Pokemon Sapphire on GBA. Thanks." So, Micah, what Nintendo games specifically remind you of your childhood?
Yeah, if I'm thinking Nintendo first party, it's Mario Kart 64. Playing that at my friend the Woodburn's house, it's like that's the number one of we just had a blast. It didn't matter that I lost a lot because I was the youngest kid playing, It didn't matter that I was always losing. It didn't matter that I kept looking at the wrong screen and I would think I was doing really well. And in reality, I was just running into a fence the whole time. Like I was terrible, but I had a lot of fun. But if I'm thinking of games I played like on Nintendo hardware, Kim Possible 2, Draken's Demise was my favorite game for Game Boy Advance SP. I was a huge Kim Possible fan when I was a kid, like to an extreme degree of like I started wearing green cargo pants and such the other things. Like I loved Kim Possible so much. And so that was the only game I got from the Kim Possible series. I never got the first one, which I think was Revenge of Monkey Fist.
Yep.
But so I never was able to get the first one when I was a kid. For some reason, we got that one, the second one. But I played that game so many times, and it really is just like the perfect little show tie-in game. It has a great cast of villains from the show. It's just one that I have spent so many hours playing, start to finish, just through and through. That experience being a kid of, oh, I don't care if I play this 10 times, I'm going to play it again. Because reading some very heartfelt, gamer like responses to the Thousand Year Door remake, seeing people say, oh, I've played this game 15 times already, like in the past, I'm going to play it again. And I'm like, oh my God, like 15 times. And then realizing when I was a kid doing very similar things with my own games of like, oh, I absolutely played the Finding Nemo movie game that many times on Game Boy Advance as well. So Kim Possible 2, Dragon's Demise is the one that I think of first of like, oh, and I was a kid and I had my little Game Boy, like that was my game. It's one I should boot it up and play it sometime, really. and just see if it holds up at all.
Yeah, some of those old movie tie-in games, I always think about there's like what's like the kid version of Looney Tunes?
Looney Tunes.
Oh,
I know what you're Tiny Toons?
Tiny Toons.
Tiny Toons.
Yeah, Tiny Toons Adventure for Sega Genesis was a game that I loved and played all the time. But, Gene, Nintendo games that are the most nostalgic for you.
Gosh, Tiny Toons. I remember Tiny Toons Adventures.
Yeah, dude,
That's
Tiny
crazy.
Toons, that was good shit.
Yeah. I even played the NES game. Are you talking about a Super Nintendo game?
I played it on Genesis.
Oh, Genesis. Yeah. The Super Nintendo version was probably different too. again, throwing back to the Mortal Monday ports, where the same game will just have very, very different versions of games.
Right.
I don't know. Every Nintendo. I mean, I played Nintendo since I was a kid. Since basically Nintendo started, so every Nintendo game basically is a kid's game for me. I'm always thinking, I guess. Well, obviously every first party Nintendo game, right? Like that just goes what I was saying. I guess one game that I always think about that was on the NES that reminds me of my childhood is a game called Legend of Kage. I don't know if a lot of people know, but it was about a ninja, and he could jump really, really high. And that was the thing that I really, really loved about the game. That there's Mario, he can jump a couple blocks and jump over a pipe. And then there's Legend of Kage, and Kage is jumping like entire trees. And so it was really the first game where I felt like, oh, I feel like a superhero. You know, I don't know how to play it. I don't remember if I even beat it or anything like that. I don't think I did. It was really, really hard. But that's one game where I think about it was just a really, really early memory of mine.
My two are Pokemon Yellow for the original Game Boy, because that was, I feel very blessed to be the target audience for Pokemon when it came out. And so I remember playing that game, waiting for the bus at school, using the link cable, all that good stuff. And yeah, Pokemon Yellow, very special game. And I loved Pikachu, and I loved that version specifically, you could have Pikachu would follow you around, which you couldn't have any Pokemon follow you around other than Pikachu. And in the other games, you couldn't even do that. Like, you could trade a Pikachu into Red or Blue, but it was only in Pokemon Yellow that he would follow you around. And there was even the cool surfing minigame in it as well. The other one that might be more nostalgic, not my favorite, but I had an NES growing up. I think I've told the story, like, my parents didn't have a lot of money, but they were able to get me an NES because it was the old console at the time with a bunch of games. And I specifically remember playing Super Mario Bros. 2 on it with my mom. And that was special because my mom wasn't really into games, but she loved Mario 2. And she was very good at it. And I remember her saying, like, oh, I always play as Toad because when you get to the sand levels, Toad can dig faster than any other character. And I just remember, like, that section she was, like, zipping through, and she was, like, really, really good at it. I don't know if she was, like, she's not good at it in comparison to people now. Like, I don't know if she beat it or anything like that. But when you're a kid, you're like, dude, my mom's playing a game and she's playing as Toad. She knows the secrets, stuff like that. So Mario 2, always a deeply nostalgic game for Nintendo for me. Last question comes from the legendary Captain Picard. Best name on this show overall, I would say. Says, ahoy fuckers. Oh. As we near the end of the Switch's lifespan, and with perhaps the final direct dedicated to Switch exclusives coming up, I wanted to check in on your Switch backlogs. Are there Switch exclusives that you haven't gotten to yet that you'd like to get through before the Switch 2 comes out? Personally, I've done pretty good keeping up this generation, and I only have 2 Switch games on my backlog: Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope and Pikmin 4. I want to get into the Switch 2 with a clear conscience and open schedule. Take care, you crazy kids. So I was thinking about this, like, what Switch games did I miss that, thinking back, I'd like to get to? The 2 that come to mind for me, and one of them very relevant, is Paper Mario The Origami King. Was a game I never checked out. As I mentioned, I love the original Paper Mario. A lot of people feel like Paper Mario lost its way after the Thousand Year Door, but I know people like this game, so I'd like to check that out at some point. The other one, and Gene, I believe you and I talked about this, is I have never played a Luigi's Mansion game. I haven't played any of them. So I played one at a friend's house at one point, like maybe the first one, but I would like to play one. And so I feel like Luigi's Mansion 3.
Part 3, play part 3.
Would be, you get some Gooigi action in there. It looks
honestly,
like
part two would be good too. I think part 2 hasn't aged badly compared to part 3. Part 3, you mentioned Gooigi. Gooigi is really the only new feature, I think, from part 2. So if you play part 2, you're getting a pretty good version of Luigi's Mansion already. You know.
If nothing else, with Luigi's Mansion 3, I've seen that clip where, because I think they're at the hotel, right? And all the Mario characters are saying goodnight to each other, and they're like, Luigi's like, night, night. And Mario's like, night, night. It's so cute and very dumb. And so I at least want to play it for that.
Dude, the cutscenes in Luigi's Mansion 3 are so good. They're amazing. And yes, they're all so full of charm. Professor Egad is like low-key, like almost like harassing. Well, he's not even low-key. He's high-key harassing Luigi, just forcing him into hijinks and schemes that Luigi doesn't want to be a part of. The story is really, really funny. Gameplay is really, really good.
He seems like if you made a top five list of Nintendo characters that were gooners, like he'd be in the top 5 category, right?
Yeah, but he probably gets laid the most, right?
Oh,
because he definitely is hooked up with Princess Daisy. Whereas it's always like touch and go with Mario and Peach.
Mm-hmm.
But him and Daisy are definitely a thing. So
what is Luigi? I mean, isn't that Luigi's girl?
Daisy, yeah, Luigi's
Daisy?
girl.
Yeah. So, but I'm not saying Luigi's the gooner. I'm saying the doctor guy with the weird glasses.
Oh, Egad, yeah. Oh, he could be it. Yeah, for sure.
I thought you, Dr. Egad, he's got a side thing going on with Daisy in secret. They have a secret lover.
No. Oh, I thought you were talking about Luigi. Yeah, no, Luigi is the Chad, right? So.
Yeah, he's not gooning. He's a nofap guy. He's like channeling the inner energy because he's got demons. So
he could be no fab. He could be Volcel, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not even incel, just Volcel. So.
All right, Micah, Nintendo Switch backlog games. Is there anything you missed now that we're kind of coming to the end that you would like to go back to, or maybe are just thinking about?
Yeah, I'm currently working on the ones that I like to get through. So the Xenoblade games, working on 2. Gonna definitely play 3. Some of these games, like there are numerous games I've missed, but that I'm not really interested in. I appreciate what the Mario and Rabbids games did, but I don't really want to play those. Like I appreciate what they are. I think they look really cool, but they don't call out to me at all of like, oh, I want to play this. So those, there's several games I missed out on, but they are not on my list to go back to. So between the Xenoblade games, and I definitely want to play the Pikmin, 1 and 2 port that I already purchased the physical copy of, but that is a must get to for me. Kind of doesn't count because it's a port, but it's how I'm going to play those games. I do need to finish Pikmin 4 still. But yeah, I see I'm looking at my stack of games back there, and I have a lot of not exclusives to get to, right? Like I have Ys 8, Lacrimosa of Dana to get to still. That was a gift
me too.
1 year. Like I have random games like that, some random like visual novels that I want to get to. But in terms of exclusives, really the Xenoblade games are what I am having as like my must play before the next console comes out. I really want to get through all 3 of those and have that off the table finally. And they're a fantastic experience. I don't want it to sound like a slog or anything, but that's my current, like, I really want these done, as our, dear listener said, like to have going into the Switch 2 with a open schedule, basically. Like those are the ones that are like my must get out of the way games.
Gene, what about you? I know you mentioned going back to Mario Wonder, but is there anything deeper from the past that you feel like you missed?
Yeah, I'm looking at the, Micah, you have such great taste to even mention Ys 8 and knowing that you still have to finish that, because me too, and E7 too. So definitely those games. So there are so many third party games. I bought an SD Gundam game that I haven't even opened yet. But I'm looking at the first party games, and I feel like that I've hit most of them. I haven't touched Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. But it's mostly because I did play Advance Wars 1 and 2, and I just have them just to have them, right? Not really interested in Captain Toad Treasure Tractor. Cadence of Hyrule, I didn't play that one, and that one is something that I might want to try. I've been kind of interested in the music games. There's Theater Rhythm for Square Enix too, so I've been wanting to try those too. Bayonetta Origins, I haven't tried that one either. I heard that the story is actually pretty good for that one, so I might have to give that a shot. Other than that, though, I feel like I pretty much hit every single Nintendo first-party game that I want. I want to play. Pikmin 4 is another one that I do want to finish. But yeah, I think that's about it. Yoshi's Crafted World, Michael finished that, so
good.
Yeah, so I also own that one too, so I could stand to finish that too.
I was tempted the other day because Everybody 1-2 Switch was only $10 on Amazon.
Oh,
and I thought,
basically free.
Is that the price to try? You can get it. Oh, okay, in a European import copy, $15 right now on Amazon. I don't feel like that's a must play, but I'm still curious about it for some reason. So.
1-2 Switch is still $45 on Amazon.
Oh, it is.
It's the good one.
Yeah.
They know it too.
Yeah. The original is still $45.
The first one, yeah.
Wow.
But everybody 1-2 Switch, yeah, it's $24 now. It's a $6 discount.
Dang. Not so good. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap up this episode of Punching Up. Thanks, everybody, for being here, hanging out with us, talking games. Let's go ahead and say goodbye. Gene, goodbye. Thanks for hanging out today.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys.
Micah, Micah, any closing thoughts as we say goodbye?
So actually, this is merch store related, but everyone who pre-ordered the Moriarty Ray Gun shirt, I am dropping off the last of those at the post office today. So everyone should have gotten their tracking numbers by now, and you will be receiving those packages in due time. So I just want to thank the listeners for making that pre-order campaign such a success. Ben and I had said we were very pleasantly surprised how excited people were about these shirts. So the last batch of those is getting dropped off today, and I've already seen a few people who received theirs and were very happy with them. I appreciate the people who tweeted out at me, to show me that the package arrived and everything. So those are on the way to the very last group of people who haven't gotten theirs yet. And I just want to thank the listeners again, because doing the merch is a really big part of my job here. Maybe it probably takes up way more time than I do actually doing these shows, for example. The merch is my main job these days. And it's just really fantastic to get such kind messages from the customers, who purchase things from us when they're happy with the quality. And also when there's an issue and, we resolve it together, just getting nice messages of thanks. The listeners make all this possible. And the merch store is just an extension of that. So I just want to thank everybody for this, this last campaign that we did, making it such a success. Ben and I have had a lot of fun getting these going, and we're excited to share what's next. That'll be coming soon.
Oh, it's been shared at the time of while we were recording. So you can pre-order the Health is Wealth Defining Duke shirt and a tank top.
Yes.
So that's the new campaign. If you're interested, check it out, laststandmedia.store. And we have Punching Up stickers there as well, if you'd like one of those. As for me, right after this, I'm going to the grocery store because Holly's at the point in her pregnancy, she can't do it by herself anymore. So, and that's fine. I'm happy to go with her. But Aldi, sometimes it's a roll of the dice. Either it's going to be nice, casual trip, or you're going to have grandma stuck in front of you, won't move, stuff like that. It's a roll of the dice with Aldi, or any grocery store, really, for that matter.
So, Aldi is the one that you guys go to, you said?
We do go to Aldi, yes.
I don't even know what that is, yeah.
I think you have them, well, I don't know if you have them in DC proper, but there's one near my parents' house in Alexandria. It's off-brand discount groceries that's high quality, very good. So yeah, we'll be going to Aldi, but other than that, that's it for Punching Up. So thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time. Goodbye. Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is a product of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and produced by me, Dustin Furman. My co-hosts are Gene Park, Dagan Moriarty, and Micah Watson. The show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Punching Up, along with the rest of Last Stand Media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we're grateful for your kind contributions and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.